I'm here at the media breakfast of the Bio 2013 convention with Graham Brookes of PG Economics in the United Kingdom, which is famous for a series of reports on the global impact of biotechnology in agriculture. And I understand that your latest report was published just yesterday, Mr. Brookes. Can you tell us some of the high spots of that report?
Thank you. The 8th annual report on the global impact of biotech crops was released yesterday. We cover the economic impacts at the farm level and look at the environmental impacts from two perspectives on pesticide use change and carbon emissions. On the economic side, over that 16-year period, the farmers who've used the technology have increased their incomes by over 98 billion US dollars. That's an average of over $130 a hectare in terms of extra farm income, so it's a pretty substantial amount of income gain. On the environmental side, in terms of pesticide use, the technology has resulted in 473 million kilograms less pesticide active ingredient being used. That's about a 9% reduction. Or to give you some context, that's about 1 3/4 the amount that the European Union's arable farmers put on their crops every year. So it's a pretty substantial amount. And in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, in 2011, the technology responsible for about 22 billion kilograms less CO2 being released into the atmosphere, which is the equivalent of taking 10.2 million cars off the road for a year.
So you're saying that biotech crops help farmers be more profitable, take carbon out of the atmosphere, and result in less pesticide usage? That's not what most people think about biotech.
Yes is the answer. If we have analysed the usage of key insecticides and herbicides used with the technology and compared it with what would be reasonably used if all that area was converted back to conventional. As I said, it's resulted in a reduction in the amount of pesticide used by about 9%. But the amount of pesticide used is a pretty crude measure of the environmental impacts and benefits. So in our work we also use another measure, which is called the environmental impact quotient, which was developed at Cornell in the 90s. This is really a measure of the toxicity or relative toxicity of different pesticides, and it's a much better measure of the environmental impact. It's not perfect, but it's a better measure. And if you look at the changes in terms of that indicator, there's been an 18% reduction in the environmental footprint associated with pesticide use on the crops. So double the benefit in terms of that indicator relative to just looking at changes in the amount of active ingredient used.
So in a crude sort of way, you can just you've proven that biotechnology is actually good for the environment and good for the farmers.
It is indeed. And you only have to look at the adoption of the technology, the rapid adoption curve, where you now have well over 150 million farmers around the world using the technology. It's rapid adoption. Why do farmers use it? Why do they like it? Because it makes their lives easier. It improves their incomes. It also delivers for society improvements in the environment, reduced pesticide use and the environmental impact of that, and reductions in greenhouse gas emissions.
How did we get the reduction in CO2 and other greenhouse gases?
Two main ways. Firstly, if you spray a crop less, you're likely to be using your tractor less, so less fuel. And the herbicide tolerant technology has helped many farmers in North and South America go into a no or reduced tillage production system. So you don't plough, you're not releasing carbon from the soil into the atmosphere. And those are the two main ways that it has contributed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
So in effect, biotech seeds help to sequester carbon in the soil?
Yes. Ploughing is the most significant emitter of carbon from arable cropping systems. So if you don't plough, you're not releasing the carbon from a lot of the crop residues, so that it's retained in the soil. It's not only beneficial in terms of carbon emissions, but it reduces soil erosion and enhances water retention as well. So it's delivering a number of benefits to farmers through this technique, and the herbicide tolerant technology has been a mainstay of helping farmers adopt, but more importantly, stay in this production system.
And bottom line, how much was the figure you gave for an increase in income for farmers around the world?
$98 billion of extra farm income, roughly $133 per hectare extra farm income, which is pretty significant.
Okay, another success story. Thank you very much, Graham Brookes.